I'm a 33-year-old male, and I live in the rural Midwest. I was born and raised in my hometown, and with the exception of a few months of living with my father on the East Coast, I've lived here my entire life. I've become pretty acquainted with the majority of the back roads in my area. One such road is an old highway that no longer has the traffic of days prior to the construction of the interstate that runs through the town. It's a long and winding road that offers gorgeous scenic views during the day and a quiet escape from the city at night. Along this road is a small lot with no more than 10 parking spaces, 2 picnic tables, and a single trash can. It is easy to miss due to the heavily wooded area surrounding it, and the majority of the rest because of the drive to it. Due to its secluded nature, it hosted a fair share of teenage debauchery. I myself spent many Friday nights smoking away with my friends. Needless to say, there was a lot of good memories attached to this place, and over the years, it became one of my favorite spots to venture to when I needed peace or solidarity. One night, it was about 5 years ago, my girlfriend and I were going through a rough patch. We had a big fight due to myself needing to work early in the morning, and her deciding to have a party full of her loud, intoxicated friends. Things escalated, and I stormed out of the house and started driving towards my favorite spot. As soon as I was out of the city limits, I promptly cranked my angriest metal music and sped down the road, chain-smoking my menthols in an effort to calm down until I finally found the turn-off for the spot. I was happy to find no other cars in the lot, meaning I wouldn't awkwardly stumble upon 2 lovers engaged in the act. I immediately jumped out of the car and sat down on one of the picnic tables, lit a cigarette, and stared at the stars. I sat there for several minutes, until I decided to head back to the warmth of my car after hearing some rustling coming from the woods. I didn't want to become a chew toy for a coyote or an angry bobcat. I hustled back into my car, blared my music again, and quickly forgot the sounds I just heard. I decided to have one more smoke and then make my way home. I smoked it way through, when out of nowhere, I heard pounding coming from the passenger side of my car. I looked over to see a large hand beating against the window. I turned down my music that was still blasting, and as I did, I heard a very angry voice shouting. He was yelling for me to open the door, and now punching my window trying to get in. I was frozen in a mix of confusion and fear, but eventually snapped out of it and threw my car in reverse. It was so dark I didn't get a good look at the guy, except for a split second where he was illuminated by my headlights. He had a black zip-up hoodie with the hood pulled over, a dark gray shirt, and a ball cap. He was a stocky guy, and had to be well over 6 feet as he towered over my Sonata. The only distinguishing feature I could make out was a very dark, large beard. I noped out of there real quick. I floored it across the parking lot and back towards the highway. And that's when I heard it. A loud bang that sounded like a gunshot. I slammed my foot on the pedal and took the first turn I could find. Once I was sure no one was following me, I slowed down and realized I was doing 90 on a gravel road. At the time, one of my best friends worked for a nearby gas station, so I made my way over to tell him the whole story. We looked over my car thoroughly and found a couple of dents on the top of the car and what looked like a boot print on the passenger door. We talked it over and ultimately decided not to call the police. It's a 20-minute drive to the location from the closest town. We were sure that the guy would most likely be gone by the time anyone actually got there. And yes, I realized this was ignorant of me in hindsight. I'm still baffled by this encounter. I don't know if the guy wanted to rob me, steal my car, or worse. But I'm glad I made it home in one piece. I hope I never have to meet that maniac again. I'm a female in my mid-20s. I went to the local grocery store tonight around 5 p.m. Since it's winter, it is dark by 5 p.m. where I live. I was in an aisle taking my time deciding between the options. That was when this late 20s, early 30s looking guy with light features, glasses, and a scruffy beard comes up right next to me and just stands there. I didn't think much of it or even look at him at first because I figured, whatever, he's just looking too. But then after a few seconds, I noticed he wasn't moving or doing anything, just standing there. I looked at him, and he was already staring at me, and for half a second I thought he might say something. So I stood there for a second, just looking back at him. He didn't say anything, so I just turned and quickly walked away. At this point, I'm thinking, okay, that was weird, but whatever. Probably just an awkward guy who doesn't know how to talk to women. Then, not even 30 seconds later, I'm in another aisle, and I see him out of the corner of my eye coming down the aisle I'm in. Again, staring right at me. So again, I walked away as fast as I could, and just went right to the self-checkout. While I was at the self-checkout, I'm looking over my shoulders the whole time, making sure he isn't right behind me anymore. And he's not. I start walking out of the store, relieved that once again, I was just being paranoid and I wasn't ever in any real danger. As I'm walking out though, I decide to look behind me one more time, and there he is, right behind me. I notice he has nothing in his hands, no groceries, and he's heading right towards the door right on my heels. Without even thinking, I stop dead in my tracks. I look right at him, and he's already looking at me. Then he puts his head down, looking at his phone, and walks past me out the door. He bought nothing. I'm so scared at this point, and my head is spinning. I didn't know what to do. I can see my car because I parked close to the exit. So I call my fiancé and sprint as fast as I can to my car. I jumped in, locked the doors, and started looking for this guy. Then I see him. He's aimlessly walking around the parking lot through the cars. He's pretty far away from me at this point, and I have my fiancé on the phone, so I'm feeling somewhat safe again. I watched him walk around for another few seconds before I got out of there. I have no idea what this guy was doing or what his motive could have been. Maybe he was just a weird dude who doesn't know how to talk to girls. Or maybe he was a predator with dangerous intentions. Or maybe he thought I looked like easy prey for a robbery. The thing I really can't wrap my head around is the fact that each time I noticed him, he was already staring at me. He was not discreet at all, and I would think a dangerous predator might be a little more inconspicuous. He also didn't buy anything from the grocery store, which I also can't understand. I was in the store about 5 minutes before I noticed him, so I'm sure he didn't follow me in. Am I just being paranoid? There's a lot that didn't feel right, so I'm having a really hard time rationalizing this experience. It was definitely a creepy encounter, though.